Hello and welcome to Live News. I am Tanti Azal. The headlines. Federal government hands over Ahmadu Bello Stadium to Kaduna State government. CBN deploys 30,000 agents nationwide to boost cash swap. Boris Johnson says Putin threatened him with missile strike. And in sports, Serbia's Novak Djokovic wins 10th title in Melbourne. The news in detail. The federal government of Nigeria, through the Federal Ministry of Sports and Youth Development, hands over the Ahmadu Bello Stadium to the Kaduna State government. The Minister of Sports and Youth Development, Chief Sunday Akindari, describes the occasion as significant to the ministry for its contribution in sports development in the country.
Today, for us at the Ministry of Youth and Sports Development, is significant for us because it speaks to the very letter and spirit of the National Sports Industry Policy that was approved by the Federal Executive Council on November 2nd last year. That policy prides itself on three triggers: infrastructure, sports infrastructure, investments, and incentives. The backbone of sports development anywhere in the world is sports infrastructure. I think the Ahmadu Bello Stadium Great Park gives us a model going forward to make sure that it becomes the very core of that policy. Ahmadu Bello Stadium remains an iconic structure, not just for Kaduna State, but for the entirety of the 19 northern states. But when you stretch it further for the entire country, you look at its contribution to sports development in our country. Look at the litany of football stars and athletes that have dominated sports in this country. And I'm actually stands as an ambassador of that, the tribe, the journey from the most of the time were developed, and that's because they have sports infrastructure that they use to train. But beyond that, we believe that the return of the Ahmadu Bello Stadium to Kaduna, just as the president also believes strongly, is a right position. We've seen some of the work that's been done by the government and his team, and we are confident that sports development will enjoy a boost. We're confident that that edifice will come alive fully for the service of our sportsmen and women across the world.
So Ahmadu Bello Stadium is something that is very deep in our hearts as a community. It was the only stadium in northern Nigeria at the time, before others were there. And as the minister explained, it has almost everything, just waiting to be used. So I was very excited when you called me and said there is an opportunity to take us to the stadium. We have big dreams for that stadium. I promise you that we will not regret this decision. If other states that took over federal stadium did not make the best use of it, I want to assure you that we will not be. And I think we will that.
Just after President Muhammadu Buhari's approval of the extension of the deadline for the return of old 200, 500 and 1,000 naira from January 31st, 2023 to February 10th, 2023, the Central Bank of Nigeria has deployed 30,000 super agents nationwide to enhance its cash swap initiative in the hinterlands, rural areas and regions underserved by banks in the country. The deployment of 30,000 super agents was also to ensure that the weak and vulnerable persons are able to take their monies to the banks before the expiration of the deadline. The CBN Governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, disclosed this in a statement.
See, we deployed 30,000 super agents nationwide to assist in our cash swap initiative in the hinterlands, rural areas, and regions underserved by banks in the country to ensure that the weak and vulnerable ones amongst us can swap or exchange their old notes. D. We deployed all our staff, particularly those of the grades of assistant director, deputy directors, and directors in Abuja, to proceed to all CBN branches nationwide to join the mass mobilization campaign and monitoring program, working with the deposit money banks, agents, and our branch controllers across the 36 states of the Federation. This is meant to ensure compliance with all our guidelines already issued for smooth implementation of the program. Although we have received some reports of breaches by some bank branches, we have agreed with the executive chairman of the EFCC and ICPC to assist us by sending their staff to all CBN and bank branches nationwide to join in monitoring the implementation of these guidelines. The aim is to ensure compliance with the laid down guidelines. E. We are happy that so far, the exercise has achieved a success of over 75% of the 2.7 trillion naira held outside the banking system. Nigerians in the rural areas, our villages, the aged and the vulnerable have had the opportunity to swap their old notes, leveraging the Agent Naira Swap Initiative, as well as the CBN Senior Staff Nationwide Sensitization Exercise. F. Aside from those holding illicit and stolen naira in their homes for speculative purpose, we do aim to give all Nigerians that have naira legitimately earned and trapped the opportunity to deposit their legitimately trapped monies at the CBN for exchange. Based on the foregoing, we have today sought and obtained Mr. President's approval for the following. 1. A 10-day extension of the deadline from January 31, 2023 to February 10, 2023 to allow for collection of more old notes legitimately held by Nigerians and achieve more success in cash swap in our rural areas, in our villages and communities.
Now on the foreign scene. The former British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has said Russian President Vladimir Putin threatened him with a missile strike during a phone call in the run-up to the invasion of Ukraine. In a report, Johnson said the Russian leader had asked him about the prospect of Ukraine joining NATO, which he had responded it would not be for the foreseeable future. Relationships between Moscow and London had sunk to the lowest level in decades, even before Russia invaded Ukraine, on the back of the poisoning of former Russian spy Sergei in the British city of Salisbury in 2018. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said human rights were a top item on the agenda in talks with Egypt's president and foreign minister during a visit to Cairo on Monday. Blinken said the United States would continue to encourage Egypt to take further actions on human rights, including releasing more political prisoners and reforming pre-trial detention. During a press conference with Egyptian Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry, Blinken also said holding elections in Libya this year was the only viable path to a durable solution in the country. And on sports, Serbian professional tennis player Novak Djokovic has won his 10th title at the Australian Open tennis tournament in Melbourne. Reports understand that the 35-year-old on Sunday, 29th January, won the first two sets. Djokovic now equals the 22nd Grand Slam crown the player had broke when the Greek third seed double faltered in the fourth game and kept his cool to take the set 6-3 in 36 minutes. At the tournament, Djokovic dropped just one set all tournament after expressing fear for having a left hamstring problem which he thought might force him to withdraw. And he finished with a superb win over first-time Melbourne finalists. News reports that Djokovic also reclaims the world's #1 ranking from Carlos, and it would be very difficult to argue that he does not justify that position, having once again put the younger generation in their place. Still on sports, the manager of Roma, Jose Mourinho, has agreed that Napoli's Victor Osimhen plays like former Chelsea star Didier Drogba, but warned the Nigerian star to stop diving. On Sunday, Napoli hosted Roma at Diego Armando Maradona Stadium for their 20th league game of the season, and as expected, Victor Osimhen shone like a million star. The 24-year-old Nigerian football star opened the scoring in the 17th minute with a fantastic close-range goal. The 2-1 home victory over Roma has kept Napoli in the top spot with 53 points in 20 games, 13 points above second place Inter Milan, while Roma have been pushed down to 6th spot with 37 points in 20 games. After the game, coach Jose Mourinho was asked to comment on the comparison between Victor Osimhen and his former player during his managerial days at Chelsea, Drogba. As expected, the Portuguese tactician gave a frank response, saying he is of the same level as Drogba, but Didier didn't dive. If Victor changes, then okay, I'll buy him if I was at a club with a lot of money. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.